All right, so it says if the given surface area A of a sphere, you can find the volume of the sphere using this formula. So this formula, you got V for volume, A is the surface area of the sphere, and it says what is the volume of the sphere with surface area 3 pi. So they're giving us the surface area, that's A, and they're saying it's equal to 3 pi. So we're just going to simply substitute 3 pi in for A and then simplify this. So this is our A value here, the 3 pi. So when I substitute that in, I end up with V for volume equals 3 pi. I'm going to put this in parentheses because it's this whole thing to the 3 halves power. And that's all divided by 6 times the square root of. Okay, so let's talk about the exponents up here. So in a fractional exponent, the numerator is like a regular exponent. So this is like 3 pi to the third power. So 3 pi times 3 pi times 3 pi. The denominator is the square root. So this number has to do with a radical, and it's the number 2, so they're asking for the square root. So let's rewrite this using those new symbols. So I have the square root, that's the 2 in the denominator, and inside I have 3 pi to the third power. That's a terrible 3. And that's all divided by 6 times the square root of pi. So let's go ahead and simplify the denominator up here. Let's do 3 pi to the third power. So that's going to give us the square root of 3 to the third power would be 27. 3 times 3 times 3. And then pi to the third power. Okay. And then in the denominator, we still have 6 square root of pi. Now, 27, let's see if we can get a perfect square out of that. So here's perfect squares. So perfect squares would be 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and I'm just going to stop there. And I got those from just doing. So for the 1, I did 1 to the second power. For the 4, it was 2 to the second power, 3 to the second power, 4 to the second power, 5 to the second power. And so I want to see if I can break 27 up into 2 factors where one of the factors would be a perfect square. And you can see 9 is a factor of 27 and 9 is a perfect square. With the exponent here, pi to the third power, so pi to the second power would be a perfect square because pi times pi is pi to the second. Remember, when you multiply something with exponents, you add them. So let's do this. I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to break up this numerator here. So I'm going to move over a little bit. So the 27, I'm going to break into 9 times 3 because 9 is a perfect square. And the pi to the third, I'm going to break into pi to the second times pi. So pi to the second times pi, that's the same thing as pi to the third. And then in the denominator, I still have the 6 square root of pi. So 6 square root of pi. So in the numerator, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the perfect square. So the square root of 9 is 3, so that 3 will come out in front, outside of the radical. So this 3 came from the square root of 9. Pi to the second power is a perfect square because pi times pi is pi to the second power. So I can pull out a pi, and then what's left on the inside is the 3, and then still another pi. So here's where I'm at now. And this is all, again, divided by 6 times the square root of pi. All right. So the 3 and the 6, I can simplify. So 3 and 6, that would simplify to 1/2. Pi, the square root of pi, here, the square root of pi over the square root of pi, those will cancel out. So if they're both in a radical, you can simplify them. So you can simplify things that are outside the radical, and you can simplify things inside the radical. You can't simplify something in the radical with something outside the radical, like this pi and this pi, because this one is not under a radical symbol. So the 3 over 6, I'm going to simplify to 1/2. And this pi and this pi inside the radical are going to disappear. They cancel each other out. That's equal to 1. And so what I end up with is I'm not going to write a 1 in the numerator because I don't need to. So again, the 3/6 becomes 1/2. But I still have the pi, and I have the square root of 3. Remember, those pi's under the radicals canceled each other out. And then in the denominator, I just have the 2. And so there's my answer. Pi times the square root of 3 divided by 2. So there's a lot of steps in this problem, and this is not an easy question. So I would encourage you, if you didn't follow that, to watch it again. Watch it a couple times if you need to. All right? So keep it up, and you will master the math.